The war is dragging on in the Pacific for the Imperial Japanese Navy. Despite sinking a great number of Allied ships, the Japanese have yet to make any real advancements into the Pacific and create the Greater East Asian Empire, as intended. With hordes of Allied supply ships crawling like writhing maggots throughout the Imperial Dominion, the Japanese seem helpless to push them back. Even after an attempt to unleash the might of the Japanese flagship Yamato, the Japanese suffered an embarrassing situation after being unable to wipe away a measly American task force led by 2 Cleveland light cruisers. This poor display of supposed Japanese might and superiority over the Allies did not do much to endear the fleet admirals to the Japanese supply officers, who will want to see more solid victories if they're going to release more supplies to the Japanese Navy and allow further progression into the Pacific theatre. Hello my good students, and welcome to the continuation of our War on the Sea Pacific campaign Let's Play. You can see from the opening screen here that we have quite a few minor situations to deal with on the off, and that is once again going for all of these transport convoys bearing down on us. I imagine this particular one might well be the retreating Cleveland-led task force, which we fought rather unsuccessfully with our Yamato task force previously, but not to worry, we can chase that down later with some airplanes launched from Guam, or even our CVs over here. We do still have Kaga and Shokaku, and of course Taiyo over here with some complementary aircraft there. Actually not looking too bad, lacking a few zeros for my liking, but very, very fresh on the strike aircraft there. We will of course be sending back Fighting Force 2 immediately to truck to rearm, and we will go over off screen the damages specifically to Naka over here, because these 16 total compartments damaged there. We'll just have to double check exactly how heavy that is, and we shall give you a report on whether we decide to keep that in action or send it back home to repair. Probably the same with the Shirayuki here with 11 total damage, and Mogami as well somewhat damaged, so we'll have to see. I doubt that's overly heavy. I don't remember anything of notes there, but not to worry, we shall just have to look. Otherwise, once again, we can see a possible aircraft carrier coming to Peleliu, but I believe from previous scouting that is once again just a couple cargo ships there. Just a misidentification on the radar here, not to worry there. We are of course moving with the task force interceptors over here, the supply interceptors. We are pretty much out of ammo on most of these ships over here, these destroyers, and pretty much out, so they're all rather low for these light cruisers here. So we'll send those back, get those resupplied and such, maybe even catch these particular ships on our way. These particular task forces, these troops and such, they're going to go over to Kure, and we're not going to send them all the way over here because that would give us a rather nasty imbalance of troops and supplies on Formosa, and that will really hurt our integrity. And as much as we do get quite a bit of warning for that, I don't want to risk losing any integrity there and ruining the airfield levels on those bases. Having thought previously though, we haven't actually spotted anything around the Solomon Islands with these 2 submarines at all, and that is quite the shame. What we should do to really help us out is launch out a Glen, of course, because we've not done that, and that's doing ourselves quite the disservice there. Even though it's rather short range, it does give us that little bit more sight, but I think it is time to finally start looking under New Guinea, start going around the Dutch East Indies. This is going to take some time, absolutely going to take some time to do, but once we get over there, we're going to have a really nice look over and see where these transport ships are coming around the Dutch East Indies and New Guinea. So having said that, we have also spotted a possible battleship task force over here. Believe that from my memory is either a Pennsylvania or a Vanguard led task force over there. So I think we'll have to have a look about that. We were going to send our Supply Interceptor 2 group over there to have a quick poke around, supported by some Kates, Not to worry, I think we'll be absolutely fine in avoiding that. It looks like it's going in the opposite direction towards Wake Island and Midway as well. Let's just recap on the enemy losses total count there, because we are closing in on 300. 286, that gives us a very small amount of ships to sink now, and that really will be the goal for today. Going to take a slightly different approach today, where I focus a little more on post-commentary narration, and we'll see how it goes. Just because I want to really force our way into 300 sinkages, and it's a little bit easier to get through there, I think, if we don't stop at absolutely everything. However, in the previous video, we did of course lose our second Akatsuki destroyer. A minor loss in the grand scheme of things, but still very nasty micro loss there, because it does of course weaken our presence out here and our protection from enemy subs and such with Fighting Force 2. So that's something to think about today, and we'll see what the Allies throw against us. Let's go. Well, after a very quick inspection, we can see that our cruisers and destroyers and such are looking very nice indeed. Our damage is only minimal, with integrity of our damage compartment still very high at 80% at a minimum, which is very, very good indeed. This will mean that our task force can stay in action and go straight towards getting more supplies from truck, avoiding the need to retreat all the way back to Kure and swap out some ships as we rest and repair any damaged compartments. Therefore, Yamato will be able to come back in full force and hunt down any nearby American shipping. And very early into today's operational time, our I-9 just south of Truk has spotted what appears to be a C3 supply ship and a Cimarron very much unprotected. So we are going to open up on, I think, the C3, the leading ship over here. So with 3 torpedoes loaded, we're going to fire at a 1 degree spread at roughly 6.5 kilometers distance away. Let's hope for a glorious sinkage for our 300 total enemy ships sunk. Let's go. And in the early evening of the same day, we have sighted a lone Arthur Middleson American supply ship bound for the Palau Islands. It appears to be previously damaged in an attempt we tried earlier. Let's try and sink this. We are armed with some torpedoes on our Bessies diving in here. Let's see what we can do. We will have to approach this very, very quickly before we lose a Bessie over here. And in the closing hours of the same day, just east of Iwo Jima, a patrolling Jake has found something rather interesting indeed. If we look through the binocular view, we can just about make out a very small American task force led by what appears to be a couple Cleveland light cruisers, once again escorting some destroyers. These will no doubt be looking for any supply ships we have in the area. Our Congo to supply interceptors will be inbound to try and chase this down. In the early hours of the following day, the 3rd of May 1942, we sight yet another American supply convoy heading south of Formosa. Having launched some Toryus along with some Bessies armed with torpedoes, we hope to quickly ruin this minor supply force. We have to decide to send the Torus in first against the enemy Patapsco. Knowing it is made of cargo explosions, we open our attack in full force. After losing their squadron leader to enemy AA fire, the Betis were flustered and unable to drop their torpedoes onto the remaining Allied ship, leading to rather underwhelming results from the following Toru attack. At 1400 hours on the 3rd of May 1942, our Yamato task force is finally resupplied at Truk. Will they be able to go out and immediately find a hefty American task force to endear themselves to the supply offices back at Japan? Possibly. We can only hope. We have found some sightings of American supplies that can only mean that they are being backed by some massive American fleet behind them. 4 hours after being resupplied at Truk, and our Yamato task force has finally found some sort of American supply force. This is only a minor task force with one Netherlands small transport and a Patapsco alongside it. However, Yamato smells blood. After being unable to defeat the previous American fleets, there is one thing shared across the minds of our Japanese sailors after their previous endeavours: Hakaiyo no Yume. Well, with that task force successfully destroyed, as it should be, Yamato might just have another surprise on its way. An even bigger fight after that very brief warm-up. We can see over here a very nasty American task force on its way just south of Truk, as ever. If we push past the fog obscuring our vision, we can see a very nasty Tennessee battleship leading a large formation of Allied cruisers. Once again, we can see the Exeter in this task force, which is rather interesting indeed, simply because we've seen that ship float around from task force to task force, being unable to sink that so far. We do also see a rather interesting British light cruiser, unable to identify that from the top of my head just yet, but let's go to the strategic map and see what we can do about that, shall we? Okay, so we've now finally been resupplied and reinforced at Kure. The day is the 4th of May 1942. In total, we've played for 147 days. That is absolutely massive. Certainly the longest campaign I have ever had. So with this happening, there's a couple things I'd like to do. Firstly, we're going to reinforce our supply interceptors too, and I do mean rearm rather than reinforce, but not to worry. That's all good, should be looking nice and dandy there. Don't mind about the damage on these ships, it is rather minor. Let's send them back over to Formosa because we've had a lot of catches over there. A lot of catches indeed. Let's just double check the supplies and such on Kure now. Absolutely looking good because our invasion support is back here, and of course, if you remember well, we have expended all of our ammunition on our larger ships here after bombarding Manila to the south. So let's rearm over here and let's double check the supplies left over here. That's looking pretty decent indeed. We'll just double check that's all gone through very nicely indeed, and indeed it has. Just look at the Zuiho, that's not a lot of attack aircraft on there at all, is it? But the Zuiho mostly used for its fighter supports here. So we're going to move this out once again. Not entirely sure where I want to move that just yet. Perhaps only really to bombard Manila once again, just to keep that rolling round and to reduce its airfield level mostly over there. We do of course still have some supplies over there. And I think what we want to do is send our engineering task force to pick that up, because if we look at Puerto Princesa over here, we are losing integrity. We're on 0.02 troops and supply ratio over here. The integrity is currently 100, but that will deteriorate very soon because we don't have these supplies to manage the troops over there, but we do have these supplies on Manila, so we'll drag those over. The engineering task force is on its way there anyway, to drop off something there to help out. We shall have a look to race over there. But the main thing over here at Kure, what we want to do now is try and get another fighting force out. So I'm just going to double check the availability of our heavy cruisers, because I think we're rather limited now with a lot of them being in active service. I think with Myoko's, we have the Ashigara about, Takao. We do have Takao and Atago about, actually. That's very, very useful indeed with their air radars. Mogami, I think they're all out. We have the Kumano about, which is excellent. Both Tones are out, and that would do for us. I was thinking we'd have to rely on foot attackers and Albers. They're not necessarily bad ships by far, but we do of course have the just increased amount of firepower with Myoko's, Takao's and Mogami's and such, just because they have that extra couple guns on them. However, the crown jewel, I think, of course, like I said, we wrote to Father Christmas previously, didn't we? And we did ask for Musashi in our stocking, and a rather large stocking it was indeed. Very full, and we're now reaping the rewards of that. That's going to cost 110 command points on its own, so this is going to be a very expensive task force if we put this together. So I think we're going to give ourselves just a couple heavy cruisers. We're going to give ourselves a Takao and a Mogami, because they are absolutely brilliant. We are of course going to give ourselves some destroyer escorts though, and I think we are going to go all out and go for Fubikis. Fubikis rather expensive as far as Japanese destroyers go, or any destroyers really. But they are very, very good with 6 guns and 9 torpedoes. You really can't go wrong at all. Very nice modern type destroyers. Not going to go for an Akatsuki just yet. We only have 2 of those available. We might want to go for a Yugamo if we have any about, and we certainly do, which is excellent for that surface radar. We're going to go for, can't quite get Akazuki's just yet, we do still have to wait a while for those. Might want to go for a Kagero then. We'll get 4 of those for now, and I'm thinking we go for another light cruiser. Not really a Tenryu, to be honest. Really, as much as we've been trying to use light cruisers in this playthrough, Tenryus, I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to draw a line there. We're going to get a Nagara out. And I really want to make this a 10 ship fleet here. We might want to be tempted by a escort carrier. Could be pretty decent. Or do we get another Congo just for some slightly heavier fire supports there, rather than rely on some more heavy cruisers? We will of course lose the advantage of the Congo's speed here because we have Musashi and the heavy cruisers out. Actually, I think the heavy cruisers can keep pace with that quite well. So it's just the Musashi here slowing us down. But do we have the supply points to make up for that? I think we certainly do. Let's go for Congo. Just about Kirishima would be very, very nice indeed. I think that's not really about it. It's quite an interesting task force there. I think we go for one more destroyer if possible. But I don't think we've got the points there to do so. So that will do very nicely indeed. Let's move out. So that's quite a nasty task force indeed. And I think we're going to send that. I think that really just needs to come back down here, to be honest. We're not sighting anything else. We did sight some Clevelands out over here towards Iwo Jima. Previously, we did try and chase those down with our Congo Supply Interceptor 2s here, but we couldn't give chase fast enough, unfortunately. So we have lost sight of those. I'm going to remove these notes over here because we have completely lost sight of that. But as our previous reports have stated, we can see a Tennessee-led task force over here, and I am fairly confident with the Yamato over here and, of course, our heavy cruisers. I think that's a fight we can take. Certainly be a bloody battle. There will be losses on both sides, but we do have truck over here to support with 1 or 2 Mavises and Bessies over here, which would be very nice indeed, and of course Judy's for some minor bombing. So I think, unfortunately guys, that will be it for today. I hope you have enjoyed the video. We've sunk a lot of supply ships off of screen. We do only have a few more ships to go. You can see the opportunities are there. We need 6 more sinkages to actually get to 300 there. So it's been a long time coming, and once again I really did want to get that today, but we have been recording for quite some time. We do have to get back to upload that so it is out on time. So I hope you've enjoyed the slight change up today. Hope it works, and please let me know your feedback in the comments if you'd like me to do more of this style and just change things up a tad so you're not looking at text most of the time. Please do let me know. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a brilliant new year, and I shall see you in the future. And I hope all of your nights and days are auspicious. Goodbye.